Evening, troopers. I'm feeling particularly fat in my face at the moment, so no nasty comments, please. Not been uploading a lot recently. I've been really busy. First of all, I've been really busy. Secondly, I've been struggling to think of interesting things to talk to you about, because what's the point of me waffling with no real point? Because if you want to see waffle with no real point, there's a million other YouTubers anyway. Probably doing it better than I am. But yeah, I like to have something to say, something interesting, which I think I've got tonight. And I can't always just pick something at random in my lovely man cave and show you that for like 10 minutes, because that's going to get boring really quick. So I want to try and improve the channel. I want to spread the channel. I know I'm never going to be a huge YouTuber. Yeah, I'm always going to be a huge YouTuber because I'm fat. Yes, I know. But I'm never going to be even a boogie, I guess, because it takes a lot of. I think to get off 500,000 subscribers, even, I think you've got to start 5 years ago. But I'm just doing it for the fun, and I know you guys. I've got a very loyal core of people, and as long as I'm making you happy, that's enough, really. Because, yeah. Anyway, so tonight I want to talk about my main man, Darth Maul. I love Darth Maul. He's pretty cool. He's pretty cool, and he's probably the best thing in episode 1. I like episode 1 as well. I'm not going to lie to you. I think there's a lot of good in episode 1. There's a lot of bad, but I think there's a good film in there to be salvaged. He agreed. Now, my theory on Darth Maul depends. There's a bit of tinfoil hat here, so it depends how deep you want to go. But essentially, Palpatine, Sidious, whomever, was always going to lose Darth Maul during the Naboo incident. That was always his plan. His plan was always that Darth Maul would outlive his usefulness during the Naboo incident. And we'll come to why that is later. So, depending on how deep this conspiracy theory goes, depends on whether you buy into whether Palpatine, Turpentine, created Anakin out of pure midichlorian spunk, or the Force birthed Anakin and Palpatine found him and then used him for his own ends. Depends on whether you see it that way or the other. If you see it that Palpatine was behind the birth of Anakin, then this goes even deeper, and everything genuinely did proceed as the Emperor had foretold. But we'll take it down to the very basics. So at the very beginning of Palpatine's plan, he needed a thug. He needed a brawler. He needed a walking murder factory, intimidated by its every physical aspect, probably doing more intimidating than actual killing. Because if you start killing people willy-nilly, it starts to register to people. But if you just intimidate people, then that's a way of getting control. You can't have control over a dead guy. So you needed an animal, a thug, which is what he was. He was a brawler. He was a martial artist in its very, very loosest sense. He could fight with anything. And he had that very rare double-ended lightsaber that apparently was frowned upon by the Jedi, and the Sith weren't over keen because it's so dangerous and so brutal. And he had one. So, in the beginnings of the plan, Sidious needed a brawler. Now, if Sidious influenced the council to send Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, which I assume he did, because I think Qui-Gon's got a bit of dark in him, so I think he was testing the waters with Qui-Gon. But he also knew probably that Numidians were they Numidians? Something Numen. You know, the racist Japanese Chinese stereotypes. Hoi, we are sinister racial stereotype of Far Eastern people. We will not survive this. There's quite a few nasty racial stereotypes in episode 1, actually. It's 3 I can think of, and I bet there's more. There's the the hideous black and white minstrel caricature of Jar Jar Binks, the hideous racial, oh, I'm Watto, I've got a big nose and I like money, which is just awful. And then there's the Nemoidians of the, hoi, we are Far Eastern businessmen, we have no Mars. I don't know, Harry, that wouldn't fly today. People, I think at the time, people are going, this film's kind of racist. Anyway, I'm not talking about the Distasteful Elements episode 1. I'm talking about Darth Maul. Yeah. That'd be a good song. Who's a bad MF with a double-ended lightsaber? Maul. Darth Maul. Yeah. So, early days, intimidating, creating the separatists, telling the Nemoidians, whatever they are, Numidians, to blockade Naboo. Naboo's his home planet. It's important that Naboo, for Palpatine, gets blockaded because then he can play the victim and he can insert himself as Chancellor. So it's important that his own planet suffers for his own plan. So to get to that point, he needs to intimidate several groups, bring them together to blockade the planet. And he knows that they'll send some Jedi, and he knows that they'll probably fail to be killed when he's ordered to by the Nemoidians. So they'll escape down to the planet. So he must know if they're not going to get killed on the spaceship, they're going to get down to the planet. If they get down to the planet, they're probably going to rescue Queen Amidala. Was the hyperdrive on Amidala's ship deliberately damaged so it could only get to Tatooine? That's just starting to get too complicated. So we'll scratch that and we'll say that all Palpatine was interested in was the blockade in Naboo, eventually being lifted once he became Chancellor, and that the Jedi would survive and would get on the ground and probably take out Darth Maul. Because Darth Maul had done his job. He was intimidating, he was terrifying, he was violent, and he was a bit of a loose cannon. But he wasn't a statesman. You couldn't imagine him negotiating or flattering to deceive, which is Count Dooku, Darth Sidious's job. And that's what Palpatine needed for Phase 2. So Phase 1, he sent his best guy to essentially get sacrificed. He showed his hand, he said, look, the Sith are back. The Jedi survived, which he suspected they probably would. He knew Darth Maul was powerful, but is he as powerful as 2 Jedi at the top of the game? Debatable. So they've taken out his thug, which means he can now have his statesman, his negotiator, his worm tongue, doing all the behind the scenes shifting of the Trade Federation, bringing on board Geonosis, bringing on board the Techno Union, creating better battle droids, and generally just holding the whole thing together, which I don't think Darth Maul could do. Can you imagine Darth Maul negotiating on Geonosis? No. Whether or not Anakin changed his plans then, it may have been that Darth Sidious was the long-term goal. I don't think he was, because he was an old man. And even though the Force prolongs life, Darth Sidious was an old man. And once he'd done all of his... Not Darth Sidious, Darth... I've forgotten his name. Yeah, Count Dooku. Count Dooku was an old man. And once the victory had been in place, he didn't need the statesman anymore. He probably needed his enforcer back. Unfortunately, Obi-Wan chopped him right up and threw him down a well. Which is why Darth Vader comes on the scene. And Darth Vader really suits Palpatine's Plan 3, Stage 3, which was maintaining control. So he needs a thug to get control. He needs a statesman to build and consolidate that control, which is Dooku, Sidious. And he needs another thug that can also sort of be left to operate on his own, which I don't think this guy could, to hold everything together, which would be Darth Vader. But is Darth Vader that smarter cookie? Because if you notice in episode 4, he's just a henchman. Yeah. Tarkin's pulling the strings. Tarkin's the brains. Vader's just the sort of hired muscle. It's not until Empire and Jedi where he sort of gets more influence and power of his own. So I think Vader was the ideal follower for Palpatine in the long term, because he didn't seem to be. He was so blinded by loyalty that he never even considered trying to overthrow him until Luke came on the scene. He didn't seem particularly clever. He wasn't particularly tactically gifted. He was just... he was intimidating, and he was clever in a way that Maul was, and he had a little bit of the statesman-like... well, he didn't, because Sidious could get you to do things that you didn't want to do, whereas Darth Vader just force-chained you until he didn't. So I don't know whether the original endgame was to keep Darth Sidious all the way through, or he saw the potential Anakin, bin Darth Sidious, brought Darth Vader in. But my initial point that I've rambled on about is Darth Maul was never ever going to survive the Naboo incident. He was never designed to survive the Naboo incident. He wouldn't have been, unless he was going to carry on into Phase 3, and then in Phase 2 would step back and Palpatine would have took more of a role in the negotiation and the control. But I don't think that's the fact. I think he needed a hand to do that. And I think that was like Count Dooku. So I think this dude was always an expendable asset. That's my video on Darth Maul, and that's my opinion on him. I don't know whether it's counteracted by Extended Universe, because why would you get into Extended Universe? Because at any minute it's just going to get deleted anyway. You know, for good or ill, you've got to take the films as canon, and you can't look at the extended stuff because it's flexible at best, and it can just be like deleted. So that's my video on Darth Maul. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell. I am trying to make the channel look a bit better. Sorry it looks a bit rubbish. I've got a big shadow over my eyes. The lighting's not brilliant. I'm working on it. Just give me one more chance, please. It could be my joint birthday and Christmas present. I'll walk it every day. I'll practice every afternoon after school. Bye.